Welcome to Roadmap, the New York edition. My name is Michelle Kim. I'm Vice President of Marketing at Amplitude, and I'll be your host for today. So how many of you here want to be better at your job? Raise your hands. All right. So I know a couple of people are being shy, but I think that is why we are all here, right? And I want you guys to know that you are in the right place because we have an afternoon full of actionable insights for you guys to be able to take back to your offices tomorrow. All right, so a little housekeeping before we get started. First thing, we are recording this session so you guys can see the video cameras, but please take a moment to turn off your ringers. Second thing, so if you like to get social, you like to get on Twitter, you like to get on social, we highly encourage that, but please use the hashtag roadmap so that we can follow along. And if you want to mention us as well, our handle is at amplitude_HQ. All right, so now I'd like to introduce our first speaker. So like many of you, she started out her career in engineering. Then she went on to be a successful entrepreneur and then spent some time in the VC world. And now she's back in product because just like many of you, that is where her passion lies. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Amplitude's Director of Product, Sandhya Hegde.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the introduction, Michelle. So I won't really talk about what we are doing at Amplitude so much as what we want to do in the future. And our mission is to help the world build better products. I think it's a pretty interesting mission. How many of you think there's some area of improvement in the products you're working on? See a few hands. I guess the rest of you are sheltering from the rain. We did also have good Pinot Grigios, that makes sense. We all have room for improvement, right? The life of a product maker never ends. It's just a constant cycle of trying to be better, more effective for our consumers. That's what makes this so interesting. Now, one of the things that I observed before I started working at Amplitude when I was in VC is at first we were investing in companies for many reasons, right? I looked at thousands of companies myself over a few years, and we invested in it because of different competitive advantage. Some companies were really good with distribution. They really understood how to distribute in their industry. Some people had intellectual property advantages. Some people had just really good content. There were a lot of reasons. But over time, it all started kind of merging and converging into one predominant reason. This was a company or a founding team that really, really understood a problem, and we felt that they could build the best product to solve that problem. Over time, we realized that's the only real sustainable advantage left in the world of entrepreneurship and business, where software is eating the world. And once I joined Amplitude, I noticed a second thing, which is that the way we need to build products to succeed is changing extremely fast. So a few ways in which it has changed are as follows. One, today, product is about entire lives, not page views. Our customers are spending so much of their day-to-day and their life inside these products that these naive concepts like views, clicks, don't encapsulate what is actually happening. They're building real relationships with their favorite applications. In fact, a recent MIT technology review did a bunch of research to discover that the average US consumer right now is spending about 200 minutes every day in digital applications. And this is not just your traditional, they are doing a lot of social media, Facebook, Twitter. No, it's how they are working, how they take care of their families, how they take care of their health. It's thousands and thousands of critical interactions that are now all completely digital end-to-end. Now, as a product manager, how many PMs in the audience? Lots? good. That was the intention, so I'm glad that. As a product manager, your main job is to have a great understanding of your consumer, right? That is the one thing that you cannot delegate. You own that. And imagine how hard it's going to be to understand your consumer when they're spending that much time in your product. How do you go about actually accomplishing this when you could spend an entire lifetime analyzing what is happening, why are they coming back, why are they not coming back, what do they hate, what do they love, why will they leave us? It's getting way harder. At the same time, the surface area of your products, and if you don't think about your product surface area, I highly encourage you to do it. Think about how complex the surface area of our products are getting. Right? The thing that you think of as a simple funnel from registration to purchase to your consumer feels more like a complex maze with a lot of dead ends that they are stuck in, right? These are, 4 or 5 of your daily active users stuck in dead ends. And the way we think about our product can be very different from theirs, where not only are they struggling to get from A to B, they don't even know what B is because you haven't really explained it to them. So life looks very different to these consumers in that product that you're trying to successfully build. There's a second thing that has changed a lot, which is this rate of change in our industry itself. Right? The entire internet took about 8 years to get to 100 million users. Anyone wants to guess how much time Pokemon Go took? It was less than 3 days. Over a weekend, between Saturday and Monday, what it meant to be a product manager in the gaming industry completely changed. You had a great week, you went home, you came back to work, and suddenly you suck. Right? So the rate at which the world can change on you is pretty stupendous today. And if you were happy about your 6-month roadmap, you kind of need to start fresh, don't you? What does not help us is also that the bar for product development is kind of different right now. It's weird because anybody can build and ship a product, an app, for a few $1,000, a few hours of time. So there are more than 5 million apps out there growing really fast. But there's a lot of analyst research that shows that less than 0.01% of them are actually successful. Right? So that's a very, very low success rate. That's 1 in 10,000. So for every Netflix out there, there are 9,999 attempts, which is a pretty staggering number. Right? The bar is getting higher and higher to stand out from the noise and actually deliver an experience that your customer will like. Even the bar for what an MVP is changing really, really fast. So what does all this mean? What all this means, what I learned from it was that all these old tools and ways of work are all broken. They don't work anymore for what we need to accomplish. And they're not even that old, right? Product management is not a very old profession in its current form. It's maybe 16, 17 years old, and what we used to do, the way we used to work, is already broken. So for instance, a lot of us still use things like NPS scores to measure whether a product has good quality. We use surveys, measure clicks. And I posit to you that none of those are scientific or useful or actually work and help you in any way. They're not a way to understand your customer anymore. The second thing we all did, product requirement documents, long-term plans, and let's be honest, while everyone talks about agile, the decision-making process in any large company is waterfall, right? And you don't get to make rapid decisions. It happens every few months. If you're lucky, you get to make a big decision or a big change. None of that work in a world where an industry can change over a weekend. And third, and my favorite whipping horse, is shipping features without accountability. So at Amplitude, we did a lot of research to understand what do product managers feel they are measured on, right? Not what their review says or not what their OKR actually says, but what do they feel they're actually measured on? And largely, it was shipping things. Have you shipped stuff in the last 2 or 3 weeks? Have you done anything? How many of you would agree with that? I'm curious. A few. I'm curious what everyone else is thinking, but that was the predominant sentiment is, I'm asked what I have shipped, not what I have really accomplished, and not being focused on impact is not doing any of us any favors. So what I want to do is talk about how does it feel like to be in a truly modern, successful product management team today, right? It kind of feels like this, where you really know your craft, you have a very clear goal, and all of you are paddling in the same direction, moving very, very fast. And we have identified 3 core principles that help you create this culture, because culture is what makes success happen. The first one is what we call behavioral science. And this means moving way beyond vanity metrics like page views and DAUs to actually focus on what actions your customer is performing and how they are feeling about using your product. So behavioral science is essentially a quantitative framework for extremely deep user empathy. It's a way for you to have a conversation with millions of users at scale based on what they are doing rather than what they are saying. It helps you understand why people come back, why people stay, why people spend more time and money, as opposed to never understand what you do at all. The second core principle is constant, rapid experimentation. And I know we've all heard this a lot, right? People have been talking about A/B testing for a long time, but it's not about just that. It's not about this one kind of process that I barely understand and mostly not do. It's about making this a core part of your culture. It means doing prototype testing, user testing, beta testing, employee dog fooding, version rollouts, holdouts, all of it. Making that almost an integral part of how you work and a very core skill set as a product manager is going to be invaluable to you. And if you are in a leadership position and your team isn't thinking about how to build this into their workflow, today is a good day to start. The third core principle is that of linking your work to business impact. Right? So at Amplitude and a lot of other companies, we call this the North Star framework, which is, are all the projects that you guys are working on across your organization, are they all aligned towards a fairly clear North Star? Maybe it's a couple metrics instead of one, that's perfectly fine, but do you have a clear quantitative strategy that everyone is driving towards? And, very important, does that North Star, does it actually become a leading indicator of future revenue and shareholder value? Because that's what it means to be a product-led company, is that the success that the product team has today informs the success of the business tomorrow. So the next few talks on this stage, you're going to hear a lot more about these concepts, about really understanding your customers' behavior, about driving impact, about what are the tools, how do you actually create this culture of rapid experimentation, focus on business impact. And that kind of brings me to my last point, which is that since this is a very young profession, it's our responsibility to build the community. And that's why we are investing so much in it. It's our responsibility to make sure that we are all learning together, because there is no one else who is going to teach us.